Node.js interview questions and answers. Hire the best one with our advice by pro coders. Node.js is in popular demand and there is a shortage of developers that can handle this groundbreaking programming runtime. But if one were to sit across from you in an interview and you asked a few questions, are you prepared enough to be able to determine how skilled they are in the technicalities of Node.js? This guide features both theoretical and applied Node.js interview questions and answers to help you prepare for a Node.js coding interview as the employer. General Node.js interview questions. Work experience. Questions in this regard are an opportunity to understand the applicant's technical experience programming with Node.js specifically. This stage should prepare you for the kind of Node.js technical interview questions that you would use as a follow-up. By then you can tell if a person is less experienced than they claim to be. Industry experience. Node.js programming interview questions in this regard are more specific than general work experience. Software development is not just about writing code. A back-end developer also needs to gain some industry-specific knowledge that informs their Node.js programming inquiries and decisions and must demonstrate such when examined. Therefore, you want to examine Node.js back-end developers to determine their preparation to navigate the terrain of your industry. Certifications. On how to prepare for a Node.js interview or even programming interviews. Generally, most companies are moving beyond certificates to testing real skills. Yet certifications still lend credence to a developer's skills, especially when they come from reputable programs. So remain prepared to request certificates from coding interview applicants if they possess any, as they serve as additional proof of their back-end development understanding, particularly with Node.js. Basic Node.js interview questions and answers for beginners. What is Node.js and AMP? How does it work? Node.js is an open-source JavaScript runtime based on Google Chrome's JavaScript v8 engine. It is neither a programming language nor a server-side framework. JavaScript is the language and Node.js itself features frameworks such as Express and Adonis. Node.js is JavaScript too, and it extends the language's traditional functions beyond the web browser to being able to develop network applications independently and at scale. How is front-end development different from back-end development? And in what category does Node.js fall? Node.js is a unique platform. It is a back-end development runtime that is based on JavaScript, a language that is primarily used for front-end development. It is used for back-end development though based on a primarily front-end application JavaScript. It is inevitable that you discuss some Node.js back-end developer interview questions. What benefits does Node.js have compared with other back-end technologies? It uses an asynchronous non-blocking model that enables smooth multitasking. It is easily scalable and very flexible, and it also significantly enhances performance, particularly for applications that run real-time operations, chat, online gaming, video conferencing, etc. Front-end developers are usually already familiar with JavaScript, and the transition to back-end development through Node is almost entirely hassle-free. What is event-driven programming? Because of the single-threadedness of JavaScript, the Node.js architecture is event-driven. It uses asynchronous callback functions to ensure concurrency. The event loop framework monitors events and once triggered calls the event handler callback function. The event emitter module allows the application to maintain the event-driven programming model. What is a package? JSON file in Node.js. Package.json is essentially the manifest of a program. The file found in the project root includes all the various metadata associated with the project, including applications, modules, libraries, packages, etc. Being the core of the project, the package.json file makes the program reproducible. The only two fields required of the package.json file are the name and the package deals. Mid-level Node.js interview questions and answers for intermediate coders. What are the promises? Promises represent objects with an indeterminate value of future successful execution or failure. It is like a proxy for a value that will eventually become available. Promises help developers to deal with the asynchronous code model and avoid falling into callback hell. The state of a promise event can be pending, fulfilled, or rejected. Describe the two main API functions in Node.js. Asynchronous non-blocking. Since Node.js depends on JavaScript's single thread to manage operations, performance becomes painfully slow. Instead, using this API function, one can execute multiple operations at once without having to wait for the server's response at each stage. Synchronous blocking. A synchronous model queues threads and performs one operation only when the other is complete. This is good for a multi-thread framework but does not fit Node's single threading. What are the commonly used frameworks in Node.js today? Express is favored for its minimalist approach as well as its flexibility. Prominent Express features include Basic Routing Model View Controller, MVC, middlewares etc. Nest is an enterprise-grade framework that is built for easy scalability. Happy, this is a commercially focused framework that is used by big websites such as PayPal and Disney. How will you debug an application? According to official documentation using the inspect switch, the Node.js program tries to find a debugging client. Once connected, you can use the inspector client to start the debugging process. There are different open source inspector clients that come in handy: Chrome DevTools, Visual Studio, JetBrains. What is crypto in Node.js? Crypto is a module that provides the framework for encrypting data and handling encrypted data. Or more technical, live crypto module is a wrapper for OpenSSL cryptographic functions. It supports calculating hashes authentication with HMAC SIP HERS and more. What's the difference between Node.js and Angular.js? This is one of the most commonly asked Node.js technical interview questions. Node.js and Angular.js are commonly spoken of together that a non-developer could even mistake them for each other or think they perform the same functions. They are both open-source technologies based on JavaScript, but beyond that, what? As a beginner, one of the basics you'd be learning would be the differences between Node and Angular. Advanced Node.js interview questions and answers. What are the streams? Streams are like pipes that read data from a source and transmit the same to a destination sequentially. Streams are what enable Node.js to work with streaming data on apps such as Netflix. Typically programs read files into memory non-sequentially, waiting until a file is read completely before processing it. What is REPL in Node.js? The REPL programming environment enables the interactive execution of commands. The four functions performed by REPL, from which it gets its acronym, are read, evaluate, print, and loop. It is also referred to as Node shell. Basically, the shell reads JavaScript code, the user enters, evaluates the result of interpreting the line of code, prints the result to the user, and loops until the user signals to quit. What is tracing? The tracing module enabled via the trace_events function enables you to trace information generated by V8 user space code and Node.js core in a central system. This is done by first determining the pattern of Node application and monitoring that data functionally and systemically. Tracing helps by giving performance insights that may be useful for identifying errors and dealing with memory problems. What is libuv? Libuv is a multi-platform support library originally written in C for Node.js. It uses asynchronous I/OIT, was introduced in 2009 with Ryan Dahl, the creator of Node.js, claiming that I/O needs to be done differently. Libuv is used also by Lovett, Julia Neovim, Pu Vetch. Libuv provides the framework for a developer to handle child processes, file and file system operations, worker threads, polling, streaming, signal handling, etc. Conclusion. That is how to prepare for a Node.js backend developer interview. A Node.js coding interview is quite easy if you approach it the right way. At ProCodus, all our Node.js backend developers are capable of answering these questions and more to prove that they have the right expertise to handle projects for our clients. So far we have racked up excellent reviews all the way. Subscribe our channel and read more about Node.js interview questions and answers. Hire the best one with our advice at ProCodus blog.